Good morning, everybody. It's still louder. You can do much better. So, good morning, everybody. Yeah. So, thanks a lot, first of all, to Exchange for Media to inviting me for this program. I'm going to talk about how the local brands have successfully scaled their operations and become national players, and some of them have become global players. It's a topic which is very close to my heart because in my career in foods and personal care, I worked on local brands, I worked on national brands and global brands, and understood what are the matrices, what are the steps, what are the pitfalls which can make or break this journey. All of us aspire to take our business forward, but there are a few things which make a lot of difference. So let me first start with my journey. Let me start with a brand which is very, very dear to me, is Medimix. So Medimix was founded in 1969, almost 50 years back, by Dr. Sidin, who was a practicing Ayurvedic doctor in railways. When he was practicing, he realized that a lot of patients come with a lot of skill ailments, and it can be treated if we can take the Ayurvedic the actives and make consumer use it in day-to-day life. So he worked hard, looked at some of the most active ingredients and developed a series of products so that the consumer can use it in a day-to-day life, and as a consequence not get treated when there is an ailment, but actually prevent the ailment which before it occurs. So that's how the journey started almost 50 years back in a small house, and then gradually the business scaled up. Now from a small business which existed in one part of Tamil Nadu in Chennai, over a period of time the business scaled up. Thanks to great product and the consumer love. Today, I'm very happy to tell you that from a handmade, small-scale business, we have 2 full-fledged factories which are making products, more than 2,000 metric tons every month. We have moved up to an automated process, and in this process, we have won several awards. While that scale-up has happened, the brand has evolved. The brand has become more contemporary, far more connected, and has moved beyond a small local brand to a national and has crossed boundaries. So the Medimix portfolio, many of you would know, started with one green soap. Today has moved from that one single product category to within the soap category multi-products which are in premium range, and also to other products, whether it's a face wash, it's a body wash, hair care, and it's a large platform of products which exist. From expanding the product portfolio, the brand has moved to multi-countries, and I'm very happy to tell you that today Medimix is sold in more than 30 countries, and I'm very happy to tell you it's the largest selling Ayurvedic soap today in the country, in the world. So this is a story about one brand which has gone beyond the boundaries, and today has established in many countries. But that's not the only brand. There are many examples of how family-run businesses have scaled. When Henry Nestle started his business talking about solving the baby care challenge in one of the countries, he never knew that today the Nestle will become such a large company. Talk about how John Cadbury started a beverage in his small retail outlet, and today is a large scale. Talk about the Michael Dell, how it was a small experiment which has now become one of the largest. So what is it that takes a small business to scale up? In my experience of working so many companies and the brands, I believe there are 3 clear, distinct stages of brand evolution. Most of the businesses start with a small problem solution. It's a local solution. You would probably look at an opportunity. Many times it's not a business opportunity, but to solve a day-to-day consumer's problem. At some stage, you will realize that this is something which has greater potential, and you start working on standardization. That's when you look at a scale-up You look at standardizing the product, look at building teams, scaling up the manufacturing process. And while you're standardizing, there's a tipping point when you realize that the brand is loved far more bigger than what you can imagine. And it starts transcending boundaries. And then it moves to new geographies where you need to start adapting to new local markets, new consumer dynamics, consumer requirements, and that's when the brand moves from standardization to adaptation. So that's 3 clear stages. And to move on these 3 stages, there are 9 success mantras. And that's what I'm going to talk about today, ladies and gentlemen. So the first thing which makes a brand scale up is understanding the consumer. You probably would have not thought that in the Exchange for Media program, you will come and see buffaloes. But honestly, if I go around the room and if I start asking you what's the difference between one buffalo to the other, we'll all struggle. And that's the reality. There are youngsters who come and say that, okay, I want to manage a brand, and what is your TG? We'll say, okay, it's a SCC, and since we had a lovely presentation from LV, it's a SCC AB 2544, male, female. Then my question is, what have you left out? Right? Your TG is as equal to many other brands. But the truth is, understanding consumer has to be far more deeper. In my career, I've spent maybe 600, 700 individual consumer immersions traveling across the country, and then I can see a lot of difference in consumer understanding and expectation. The young, and I'm addressing this as young because obviously there are a lot of aspirants who would like to make a mark in their career. We'll probably go to a city like Delhi and say, okay, I want to go for a market visit, meet some of the consumers, spend a day or 2 around the NCR, and then come back, okay, yes, I've understood the consumer. But that's not the consumer is. I used to travel from Vijayawada on road all the way to Hyderabad, or get down at Siliguri, travel all the way to the far east or northeast, get down at Raipur, travel to Indore, but that's where India is. When you go deeper, you find shades, and then you realize that not every consumer is same. You can't just classify every consumer as one bucket. There are certainly a lot of differences. It's a common notion that consumers who are buying small packs are looking for value. And then you, at some stage, you have this realization in some of the consumer groups when I met, consumers would buy 24 sachets of hair oil. 24 sachets of hair oil, right? You can, of course, buy a large pack. The consumer believes that if you buy a sachet, despite you can afford a far more larger pack, they believe that small sachet helps you portion control. Plus, it gives you a far more fresher stock. Now, how do you break this down with the common understanding that consumers are looking for value, they will only buy as per their affordability? And there is a distinct difference. The consumer in, for example, south or let's say eastern coast of Andhra prefers sachet. Same is the behavior in central UP. But if you go to Punjab, central Punjab, go to Jalandhar, consumer will say it's below dignity to buy a small pack. Vadda pack hona chahiye bhai, right? Whatever brand I am buying. And that's the point which is there. You have to understand your consumer to find out the shade difference. And there are interesting experiences. I would go for a consumer visit in rural part of Bihar. I would be meeting the house lady, and you would almost feel like you're meeting the entire village, because there would be a house lady, her husband, all the kids, in-laws, everybody would be sitting in the same room trying to understand what this young chap is going to ask. You go to the western part of India, and there is, as a protocol, you will have to take photograph of the product and then the photograph of the respondent. And we ask, okay, ma'am, would you be okay if you take your photograph? She says, oh, wait a minute. I'll go get dressed up, far more open, far more confident, and willing to get herself photographed, right? So there are shades. You need to understand consumer far more deeper, beyond the numbers, and that is the success of some of the businesses which are scaled up. What is the unique problem the business is trying to solve? It cannot be a Me Too brand, it cannot be a Me Too business. Second, once you've decided that this is the positioning you are looking at, be consistent, be honest. You just can't change. I mean, Colgate getting into foods or Burger King trying to sell French fries, they were all disaster. In Medimix, we have stuck to our principle. It's a brand which stands for providing our authentic Ayurvedic solutions to consumers. And hence, all the products which have been rolled out, they've consistently been built on the Ayurvedic principles, they have built on the efficacy, and they deliver on the promise. So that's the consistency which is absolutely required when you aspire to grow from a local brand to a national or a global business. But there are challenges. There are challenges. When you move across the globe, you have things like brand name. What are the interpretations? For example, Coca-Cola, when it moved to China, you would be surprised, it gets translated as bite the wax tadpole. Or Lexus, when it moved to Hong Kong, it got translated as beyond ambition. Would you buy a car which says it's beyond ambition? A Kiri, a very well-known cheese brand, when it moved to Iran, they were shocked that their brand name means rotten in the country. So you'll buy a rotten cheese? Or lastly, a Mercedes-Benz, where Benz meant rushing towards death in China. So these are few things which has to be checked before you decide, okay, I have got a fabulous product, a great brand, let me go and launch in a neighboring state or a neighboring country. Looks obvious because we are all confident about, but have you done the checks? And it does not stop only at the brand name. Look at the creatives. So when Pepsi, the most famous tagline, "Come alive, we're right choice," moved to Taiwan, it translated to "bring back your ancestors back from dead." That campaign failed miserably. And McDonald's, when it went to China, finger licking good means you eat your own fingers. Right? So these are basic things you have to be aware when you are moving from a local brand to a national brand. What are the cultural nuances? So there are checks and balances. We have been engaging with local our experts whenever required, do the adaptability, connect, make it relevant for consumers. Eventually, what you need to decide, marketing, segmentation is all about sacrifices you have to make. You have to say, what is your true purpose, what do you stand for, and what are the ones on which you are willing to pivot. Fourth, this is an interesting video, and it's on mute for the individuals on the console. So when we move to new countries, we realize great differences in quality expectation standard. We move to Japan, this is the consumer expectation in terms of how the product should be shaped, how it should be dressed up. So when we started exporting Medimix, we realized the difference in standards. And with that difference, we started looking at how do we manage. So we had a lot of challenges. We shipped, the customer came back, say, oh, you have a scratch out there, not at all acceptable. You need to improve the specification. You cannot have, the country which is running on Six Sigma is looking at absolutely standardization of what a product gets delivered. But that's the beauty of our organization. When we started realizing that there are differences in standards, we had option to create grading of products. Say that, okay, when you are shipping to a developed nation, this is the standard. When it comes to India, we'll use a moderate standard. And when you're going to countries where there are far more lenient, can we have a more, let's say, substandard product? Well, ladies and gentlemen, that talks about the organization. We took a decision that every product which is shipped out has to be the best in class. So whatever is the most stringent norm which is there, that has to be available to the developed nation, to India, and the countries which are also not asking for that. And that talks highly about the organization and what made a lot of difference. Because that's the passion for the quality which has grown the business. Today, we of course, we have made all the products, most of the products in-house to ensure that the product is up to the expectation. We have done backward integration. All the most of the key actives are grown in our own farms. We extract the actives, put it in the product. All these products are then tested as per the quality norms. We have our own labs which are IU certified. And because of all these smaller steps, today, ladies and gentlemen, Medimix is ranked 9th most trusted FMCG brand in the country. And it is the most trusted Ayurvedic brand. These are steps, you can't just make a trust factor overnight. It takes years of perseverance, passion for quality that's built this name. It's very easy to break a name, but it takes years of hard work to create that name. And that's absolutely critical when you have aspiration to become a global player. Fifth, when you build a brand, it all talks about, okay, let's go and meet consumers and tell them what we are and what we want to sell. Sounds very simple. But consumer is bombarded with so much of information. It could be choice of brands, information. How do we ensure that the connect with the brand is at a deeper level? And that's why it's important whenever we are connecting with the consumer, we are driving the relevance of the brand at moments when it makes a lot of difference. So these are some of the activities we have been doing to build the brand, whether it's a Trisupuram, using God cards to ensure that consumer take it at home and then use them. And I'm going to talk about one more activity which is very close to my heart. I've been doing this for, so in 2015, I was working on a very large, well-known brand where the promise of the brand was to provide relief and relaxation. And we found out that Kumbh is a great opportunity for us to connect with masses. Now, the obvious solution which came from the activation team was, okay, let's set up a stall and do the sampling and try to tell, show ads. But we had to go deeper. So what we took was that, okay, Kumbh is a place where we still have high stress, right? Stress of, even though we won't believe, but there is still a very high instance of getting lost, and that's a fear. Can we take that opportunity to connect deeper with the consumer and provide a solution so that consumer feel comforted, confident when they are doing this holy pilgrim, and also understand what this brand stand for? I'm going to show you a very short clip, and it's a real video of, look at the emotion of how consumer have got lost and the emotion of reuniting. AB, please.
We set up a lost and found to help those in need. Navratna is all about relieving stress, whether it be that of a headache or of getting lost at the Kumbh Mela. Registered people then went on to enjoy the Mela, assured that if something were to happen, they would be taken care of.
नवरत्नाची आड लागलेली होती तिथं गेले, तिथं माझी नोंद केली, माझं नाव गाव सगळं नोंदून दिलं. त्याच्यानंतर मी त्यांना सांगितलं की माझी बहीण हरवली आहे. मी प्रयत्न केले, मी शोधली तरी मला सापडली नाही. नम्र विनंती करते, माझी बहीण त्यांना सापडून दिली. ही मी खूप त्यांचे आभारी आहे. मला माझ्या बहिणीशी खूप प्रेम आहे. नाही सापडली म्हणून मी नाही का माझ्या बहिणीला बघितलं, मला त्यांना शोधून दिलं. हीच मी त्यांचे धन्यवाद करते.
Yep, thank you. So we started this activity 2015, went to the next Kumbh from Nasik to Ujjain to Prayagraj. The first year we got 3 lakh registration. The next year the number moved up, 5 lakh, 6 lakh. And you won't believe we had loyal consumers who would come to Kumbh every year, I mean, whenever it happened, and they would say, yes, we had registered in a past activity, we would like to register. And that's the power of the branding, that's the power of connect. And it was heartening in 2021 when we did the Haridwar Kumbh, and I got a letter from government. A letter from the government, state government, saying that we have a Kumbh happening in Haridwar. We have heard about the Lost and Found Center you've done. Come and manage it. So when you're genuine about the work, it spreads. Your positive word of mouth goes beyond consumers, it moves on. So that's the point I'm saying. When you connect with local consumers, of course, over a period of time, we scaled up, we brought in RFID. Look at the big queues for consumers to register. But when you are solving a solution, you're not looking at short-term sales, looking at deeper connect. These kind of associations have a long way to, give a long way to scale up the business. We moved on. What is the sixth thing? When you are scaling, you're thinking about global, you also have to connect. You have to look at local. Food is a fantastic example. I worked in foods. So same McDonald's offers McVeggie and also offers McArabia, a complete contrast. Or look at Kit Kat, a brand which is very close to me. In Japan, they have launched flavors which are very much relevant to Japan. You have flavors like wasabi, matcha, or even green tea. When we scaled Medimix, we have done that adaptation. So while the core of brand remains constant, it's the same Ayurvedic product, it's the same efficacy. When moved to Korea, there are the local connect. You have Taiwan, you have local connect. We have variants like green tea, aloe vera, you'll not find in India, but that is relevant for those markets, and that's the approach. You have to think global at some stage when you pivot and start acting local. Seventh point. So while we are doing it, okay, so on the product, while we are working on product, the creatives and activation also needs to take into consideration the local culture, local way of consumers, way of interacting with the product. So let me give you an example. In Japan, you would see our creatives are completely different. It's not the normal face you would probably see. Secondly, you look at this ball. It's a froth of Medimix. Your consumer understanding, the consumer wants to see, feel, smell. It's completely different from the understanding which you have as a local brand. Imagine doing this in Chennai. Would consumer try it out? They say, oh, I don't know, maybe it's a washing machine, you have an output which is out there. So when you are expanding the brand, you need to start understanding, appreciating, and pivoting your brand as per the requirement. We went to Japan. We have an endorser who is a sumo wrestler. And when we to US, we have International Yoga Day being celebrated at Times Square. So at some stage, when you're moving from local to national, start understanding, be ready what is going to come. And then what's absolutely critical and has made a lot of difference to our business is choosing the right partners who have been a big support for us. We had a long-term association, and they have been a big source of giving insights and making sure that we have a win-win engagement. So that's the 7 key mantras. Understanding your consumers, look at your positioning, how does it translate across geographies. You stand for a promise, ensure that it gets delivered, connect with the consumer, start acting local when you scale up, and then choose your partners. But there are 2 more very important parameters. First is the people. As a leader, all of us have responsibility to find out talent which is well placed and is as passionate about business as you are. And I think that's something which is absolutely critical. I mean, I'm the CEO, I have a leadership team. We have head of departments who spend 15 years, 20, 25 years in the organization, plus we've got the fresh blood. So an organization which encourages the inner talent, it looks at finding out some of the best gems. We are very proud to tell you that Cholayil has one of the lowest attrition in the industry. It talks highly about the environment the organization has created in the company, the team which is there, and how everybody is happy and well, I would say, synchronized to achieve the organization goals. And then the last point, which is eventually when you are scaling your business, you have to identify what's your North Star. What is the purpose you are standing for? The organization started with the welfare being the primary objective. The doctor, Siddhan, when he started saying that, I have this knowledge, can I make it reach out to millions of people? With that principle, we have been running the business. So all our products always take into account the consumer benefit. There have been instances where you had to make hard choices. For example, when it comes to when there was a COVID period, a lot of organizations had to make difficult choices in terms of cost, quality, time. All three, they work at tandem. But we said that doesn't matter. We cannot compromise quality, whatever the cost is, but consumers have to get the best from our organization. So these are 9 things which make a lot of difference for a local brand to scale up to a national level and then eventually to a global scale. So what is it that made us succeed? First, I think it's the foremost absolute passion for giving a quality product. I believe that in physical world or in physics, light travels faster than sound. That's why you see lighting first and then hear it. But in the world of brands and consumers, sound travel faster than light. That's why consumer hear about you first and then think that whether I should consider your brand or not. In marketing, we talk about ZMOT, SMOT, zero moment of truth or first moment of truth. Even before consumer considers your brand, they have a halo of what the brand stands for, and that's only you get considered. So ladies and gentlemen, this is what I believe makes a lot of difference. It's an honor, absolutely an honor to come and talk at this platform. Look at the long list of the powerful brands which are scaling up. They're truly a pride of India. And as I summarize my slides, it's important that we recognize such brands, because India, a couple of years back, or let's say decades back, was contributing more than 30% to the global GDP. Today, it's reviving. And it's important that we recognize such pride of India brands who have potential to become a global scale and take India back to its stature. Thank you very much. Jai Hind.